Hello, world, and welcome to today's episode of Sacred Earth Essentials. Today, I am going to be briefly discussing my recent experience at the Science of Regenerative Cannabis Conference in Dresden, Maine at Nature's Summit. It was an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, and informative experience that I would recommend to anyone interested in cannabis and interested in regenerative farming practices. So, this conference is put together by Regenerative Seeds, and it is a conference. This one was the water series. This is not the first conference that they've done, and it was the first conference that I've been to, however. And what a blessing to go. I'm so glad that I made it happen, and so thankful to God and to everyone that was there, and to Cannabis for making it happen as well. And a lot of people don't think that cannabis and God or cannabis and Christianity go together. But as I'll be talking about a little bit later in the video briefly, cannabis was actually one of the main ingredients in the anointing oil used by priests during that time, including Jesus Christ. And so I was pleasantly surprised to find that the location, the Nature Summit Dispensary, was not only an absolutely soul-blowing, enhancing antique barn, but it was also a dispensary and a church. The Cannabis is Life church. So I got to experience that, and that was again another blessing. And speaking of God signs, this is Sacred Earth Essentials. I'll be talking about this on some other platforms as well. I asked God before I went to sleep on Friday night. I was like, God, please just give me a simple sign, like one that I can't deny, I don't have to question, I don't have to think about, that I'm doing the right thing here with cannabis and including cannabis in my practice. This is Yoda. So I went to sleep at this great bed and breakfast called the Clary Lake Bed and Breakfast, and which I'm definitely going to be going back to again. And when I woke up in the most comfortable bed ever to get ready the next morning and roll over and look at my phone, it's 4:20, right? Go lay down, please. And so I was like, thank you. Like, ask for a really simple, don't need to overthink it sign that I was on the right path. And then on the way home Sunday, I was passing a church and happened to look at their digital clock as I was passing, and it happened to be 4:20. So those might sound like little things, but to me, those are just reassurances from the universe that my intentions are pure and that cannabis is a gift from God. It is one of the sacred plants, and that it has healing to offer people on multiple levels. So, I would like Yoda to lay down. Yoda, go lay down, buddy. I'm trying to make a video. Sorry. So, as I was saying, there is going to be one more regenerative cannabis conference, and it's going to be in Oklahoma on April 4/29 to 5/1. And so it doesn't have an exact location on the website yet, but I definitely recommend that you check it out. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the conference and what was taught and who was there in this video, and how it applies to your garden, your farm, your nutrition, your holistic health, including your mental health and the health of your children and the earth and future generations. And so what is regenerative farming? What are regenerative practices? And one of the things I wanted to share quickly here before I move on is this concept of regenerate life, and how we can connect regenerative farming not only to specific plants, but also to the soil, the entire ecosystem, and in our lives personally as well as within communities. And how when we create this healthy soil and healthy soul of the people of the world, that we're able to all enjoy life better. Because, you know, if it's true that we're all connected, how do we expect to be able to live our best lives when we know that other people are also suffering? So we can be in a high vibration and help to lift that vibration, as well as on a scientific level, helping to give thanks back to the soil, give nutrients back to the soil, you know, and really create a living soil, and that will add to the nutrition of the food and the quality. So I'm gonna have to take him outside here, otherwise I won't be able to continue on with my video. The benefits of working from home. So folks, welcome. This is the site of Sacred Earth Essentials and the Herb Shop and Wild Wellness, as well as North Country Counseling. So there you go. It's the entryway. You know, and so what another wonderful example of growth mindset and how to use real life situations for experiential learning and making the best of things. So my office is, you know, quite, got my seeds out over there, getting ready to start planting, as well as a whole bunch of cannabis to assess. All right, folks, thank you for your patience. Thank you. There's a little window into my real life. You know, I tried to be as authentic as possible. And so here I am talking about regenerative farming and how that applies both to the soil as well as to your soul. Which was one of the other beautiful benefits of the conference this weekend, was just as we need that biodiversity for the plant, you know, for real seeds, we need that biodiversity for our soul, like not just in the foods we eat, but in the people that we surround ourselves with and collaborate with, that we need and benefit from working together in synergistic ways with others, just like the plants, and that we need that for not just survival, but thrival, for optimal living and optimal health. And when we're doing these regenerative practices in their highest form, in my opinion, I'm not an expert yet, but I'm a student for life, that these practices, you know, apply to both the actual hands-on farming, and that we can learn life lessons from that as well. And so go to regenerativeseeds.com if you're interested in learning more. Check out Nature Summit in Maine, and I love their motto here. We've got Nature Summit, Take Back Your Life. Dennis and Tracy Meehan, Maine Premier Cannabis, Gardner, Maine, and they're on Facebook. So helping neighbors achieve and retain a far better quality of life through our products and knowledge. Let your natural healing begin. You know, so there are good, beautiful people, kind people everywhere. I was, you know, blown away, totally impressed with them and their love and what they've been doing, and that it's been in their family for generations. And I have a grand appreciation for antiques and handmade items of high caliber quality, as well as people. And I did my best to pay attention to the little and the big things. There were, you know, antique coins, there were handmade crafts, there were different types of products. You know, there was a lot of love in that space. There was this really, really sweet antique Moxie sign, which I have another great appreciation for, and lots of different glassware and items from around the world with deep spiritual significance. There was a handmade, I believe, samurai sword which was amazing to be able to hold that. And I just love that feeling of balance, that weighted balance of holding it, and being able to see the craftsmanship that went into that, as well as some of the other antique items and jewelry that was there. And although cannabis may not be an item made of metal, we can apply that craftsmanship to cannabis. And that's part of what I learned in the Ganjier program, was about assessing the caliber of the cannabis and the quality, and looking at the whole process, from the seed genetics to the way that it was grown, the nutrients that were used, the climate that it was in, the terroir, the person and their intentions that go into that plant, and how that adds such a beautiful and unique experience to cannabis, where we're looking at it and experiencing it as a craft and a medicine, and not just a commercial commodity. And I know that for me, not only has cannabis been super medicinal, I have my medical card. I've also utilized cannabis since I believe I was about 14. I could tell you the story, and I'm sure I will again one day. I will tell you all about my cannabis journey and more videos coming up. So when we regenerate the soil, we regenerate the plants, and we regenerate ourselves in life. And regenerative farming practices, it helps to create a better synergy between the soil, the microbials in the soil, the root systems, the plant uptake, and the beneficial insects, which was another really interesting aspect of this conference that I didn't know very much about. And the other great thing about cannabis is, just like how when we plant trees to help reduce the carbon in the atmosphere, we can do that same thing with cannabis plants. And it also works by uptaking that carbon through the soil. And so you get this plant that historically, even prior to human civilization, has been doing its thing on this planet, and has just such a wide range of benefits, from physical benefits, mental benefits, emotional, spiritual benefits when used properly, to things like fabric and plastics, which, thinking about craftsmanship and how it applies to the most unexpected things, which again is another lesson in paying attention to the fine details. We got to drink Kangen water while we were there, which is another topic that I'll be speaking more about. There's just so much information, and I want to keep it as brief as possible, because I know that we all have shortened attention spans, and these are just, little morsels of information and insight into what the cannabis community and the regenerative farming community has to offer the world. So not only is regenerative farming a conservation and rehabilitation, holistic land management practice, but it also is proof that nature science is also the genius science, the optimum science, and that we can use that to enhance what we do as humans, which we are also nature. And so I don't know if you want to call that a duality, or if that's really, really the oneness that we get when we go deeper into learning about life, even through the lens of nature. And so regenerative farming also includes no-till practices. It's about increasing the biodiversity. It's a better way of managing the water cycle. And the biosequestration is that process of the roots and the plant uptaking the carbon and from the soil. And so we're also increasing the microbiome, which was awesome, because I got to learn from a man named Chris Trump, whose website, super simple and easy to remember, which I appreciate, is christrump.com. And he teaches about natural farming practices and specializing, if I am correct, in Korean natural farming. And when you go to his website, you will find all kinds of cool information, and you can take a course with him. And we got to learn about the different types of inputs and the indigenous microorganisms and the lactic acid bacteria, the oriental herbal nutrient, the fermentation process, which when I think of Korean fermentation, usually the first thing in the past that's come to mind for me has been kimchi, because I've been an avid fan of kimchi for a very long time and know its benefits to human health and how it helps different types of fermented food, not just kimchi, with our microbiome and what we need. And we're products of this earth, so it's only logical that the earth would need these same things. So he also talks about on the website the different types of solutions. And I'm not an expert in these things yet, but I have a basic understanding and I'm really thankful to have learned. I got to drink some of the input that he had made there, and I thought it was delicious. I thought it was sweet and just had that teensy bit of sour, that fermented sour flavor, and I could feel it zing, like immediately. Well, at first it went down through my body and then the zing, and it just, how we need that. We need to have healthy gut biome. I'm not starting this over. And that not only intaking different types of foods and beverages that are rich in healthy microbacterias, we can also be adding this to our soil. And it's funny because I guess you could probably come up with a saying that's something along the lines of healthy gut makes for a healthy butt. I don't know. Sorry, folks. I know I'm super silly, but that's part of the truth, is that when you take things like that and you have that healthy microbiome inside, you're going to have a healthy, more regular system all around. And my theory is also that this would also help with women's health as well, to improve certain aspects of women's health, which I will do more research about. And again, if you go to his website, you can do these intensives in different places throughout the world. So I think it looks really cool. And there were some other teachers there as well that I'm going to list. This is getting long. I'm not quite skilled at the short videos yet. So we also got to learn about aquaponics and sustainable greenhouse design with Steve Ricine. There were other speakers there: Rebel Grown, Izzy Barker, greenhouse management with Eric Brandstan. The soil food web was with Dr. Elaine Ingham through Zoom. Everyone else we did in person. Susan Wainwright Evans, the bug lady. We got to learn about beneficial insects. I've never met anyone who's known so much about bugs before. It was absolutely fascinating to listen to, and I was uber impressed with her enthusiasm and her passion and her fine detailed knowledge of what she was talking about. So that was another great aspect of the conference. And Michael Box, and again, Dennis and Tracy Meehan, the owners of the location, and Dennis gave a beautiful, heartfelt share and speech on Sunday as well. And it's great because the event was not just about industry and business, but it was a very community-minded event. And I think that is, in my opinion, what the world needs more of. And if you pay attention to his name is Sadhguru. It's a side note. He's doing a motorcycle tour around Europe right now to raise awareness about soil health and soil degradation and soil loss and how it's happening at a rapid pace and that we as a human community need to rapidly make some changes on the farming level, both small and industrial, if we want to be able to save soil and provide food for the planet, as well as to mitigate climate change and more natural disasters. And I'm sure the list of devastation goes on. And we have the ability and the science and the knowledge to do this. And so I think that if we all do our small, teensy, tiny little part, it will add up to make big waves and big changes for the betterment of all. You know, when we lift others, we rise. I think that was on a sign at the barn or something along those lines. So, and then Kevin Jodry, of course, right? So Kevin was there. I'm just so thankful to have met such a being in my life. I have an appreciation for him and his knowledge and expertise and his love. And, you know, I'm sure that I will continue to learn more and continue to appreciate who he is as a cannabis professional, as an original ganjier, and as a brother and a fellow human. And it's just so powerful, the amount of love that comes out of him and knowledge. At one point when he was giving his lecture, Professor Jodry, on Sunday, I can literally see like this round energy field coming out of him, and it was like a dark metal color, and it had like a pattern around it, kind of like an I Ching pattern. I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure if I'm interpreting the pattern correctly, but it was beautiful. And I know that other people who practice meditation and who research different things about energy work and the power of sound, and what can happen in a really energetically charged space, and the power, the healing power that we all have in the ability to emanate this into the universe, which is actually proven with quantum physics, which is super cool, which wasn't part of the topic of the conversation. But again, we were in this powerful place, this old place with a very, very holy energy, very holy people, and a lot of reverence and respect. And items, you know, from all over the world that carried that energy. There is a Hawaiian woman that I had the blessing of learning with at one of the international herb symposiums a long time ago. I believe her name was Rachel. And I was able to learn about kava kava ceremony and other traditional Hawaiian beliefs and practices, and through those workshops. And one of the things that she explained to us is that wherever we go, we have, you know, fancy weed, the spirits of our ancestors with us. And so whenever we meet with other people in groups, they are bringing along those spirits of their ancestors with them as well. And that sometimes that's why we hit it off right away, and sometimes that's why there's conflict. And so I just really appreciated that. And I think that over the weekend at the conference in Maine, it was so powerful because everyone was so invested and so kind and so present, and there was such an exchange of passion and purpose and community, and that's what it's all about. And that's also what regenerative farming is about. And so we can apply that to ourselves individually, taking back our own lives, and we can apply that to ourselves as a community. And again, you know, we rise by lifting others. And so when we raise the vibration, and the actual physical reality of people's lives through sustainable actions and practices, and helping them to help themselves, which is super important. And I know that from my own personal experience as well, about having to learn to help myself, and that cannabis has been one of the things on my journey of learning to not only help myself, but learning to let others love me, and learning to give what I have in the way that I have it, in the way that I have to give it to the community as I learn and grow, and help others learn and grow as well. And so what just a rich and beautiful subject regenerative farming is. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm really thankful to be here with you all today to share with you the green gospel, the good news of cannabis on Sacred Earth Essentials and beyond. Don't forget to go in peace and be a blessing. Thank you.